Good morning and welcome. This is episode, I believe, number 16 on the 4x3 podcast. And it's been a short minute for me because I've been slightly busy, a little bit slack, and I don't know, demotivated to do anything. As current, I am babysitting a new property, and it's filled up a lot of my time. The last time I actually spoke, I reckon I've lost about another 10 kilograms in weight, and I'd say so far in total around 20 kilograms. And as last time, it is still difficult to do because my moods are always up and down, and this means I can't be bothered 1 minute and I can be bothered the next. So I weighed around 106 kilograms, so 96 kilograms, then 86, about 20 kilograms I've lost so far. Well, to be fair, 18. If I'm lucky, and it's, I guess, very slow. And I was going to film a little docu-series thing about my journey on it, but then I just totally gave up, and now it's just, it is what it is. And what I find too, and only recently I've done some sort of fasting. I seem to do it when I go through a moment of eating too much food over the course of, I don't know, a month or something like that, and I will accidentally start a fast, or I will force myself to do a fast, but I have to get over the first day in order for me to try and do the second day, and that's with a little guidance from someone else. Usually saying, don't eat, mother fricker, and then I just, depending on the situation, I'll either eat or I won't, and rebel or whatever I do. So the longest one I did was 4 days. I mean, that was painful, and this was it was a fast, but it was also just a no food 4 days, and I have this habit of every time I go to start a fast, I'm always taking in a lot of sugars, and that is iced coffee or other drinks. And I always have troubles with sugars, and it's one thing that I need to sort out, and it will be a difficult task to do. Although I'm losing a lot of weight, not too quickly, but, you know, a certain amount of time, and it doesn't mean I'm feeling so energetic that I can do stuff, and sometimes I'm extremely tired, sometimes I'm not. I mean, that's just my life, realistically. I have noticed it's easier to skateboard or rollerblade or do anything at a skate park or any sort of task, like lifting my body weight is also another thing. It's given me more energy to do that. And I mean, I'm tired right now as I speak. So sometimes I'm in the mood to actually skateboard or exercise, and sometimes I'm absolutely not in the mood. And in the process of all this, I don't want to say I've become like a vegetarian or anything like that, but I haven't had meat in more than a month. It's probably around 2 months now, I'm not sure, but I feel like today I might eat some sort of meat, but I don't know yet. I'm a little afraid that a lot of the sort of quick 10 kilograms that I've lost in the last month or so has been because I haven't had any meat. and from my understanding, it is a lot more difficult to digest the meat. And I've noticed that in the past, where I will be, constipated, and I'll try to blame something else, but I know it was the constant meat that I had been eating over and over and over and over again. And it doesn't always digest in a right amount of time before I eat the next meal. So I've noticed that, I guess, not eating meat has sort of helped a lot with certain things. But I'm not, just shouting out from a distance, oh yeah, look at me, I do this. I'm pretty casual, so I might eat like some sort of meat dish soon enough. But every time I go to try and do that, I just don't want to. One of the reasons is I was walking the dog on the side of the highway at one point, and roadkill looks a bit different close up. And in this situation, the giant bush possum, what's it called? The wallaby. The flesh looked a little too human-like for me. It was very, light in colour and sort of a reddy, pinkish, reminded me of pig flesh almost. Very weird, and turned me off, and then I just casually drifted into not eating meat at all. But the thing is, the only time I'm craving meat is when I'm craving something that is heavily processed. Like right now I want fried chicken, and sometimes I want burgers, and I don't know, sometimes I want fried bacon. So it's usually something that's not entirely healthy for me at all. And that is the issue if I'm not thinking about... Oh, actually, I have thought about having... but this is just to try it out. To have like some raw red meat. And have it so I can dip it into some sort of sauce. But I wouldn't mind trying it if it was like deer or some sort of gamey meat, or gamey, is that the right word? Some sort of, I don't know, hunted bit of meat, just to try that out. But yeah, other than that, if I can't eat that sort of thing raw, that's just another argument. If I can't eat it raw, what's the point? Anyways, shifting away from that sort of thing, I've got a Nintendo Wii, and a while ago I was shown how you can hack the Wii, and this is to play GameCube games, NES games, SNES games, Game Boy Advance games, PlayStation 1 games, different console games on the Wii. And when I was introduced to it, I had a mate who actually hacked it for me, and he put Melee on there, Super Smash Bros. Melee, because we used to play that a lot. I can't remember if there was anything else that he actually put on there, or whether it was just so that I could practice the game when when I joined and dicked around with his tournaments, but his friends were in it, and just to play randomly with him and his friends and our friends or whatever. I had that ability to practice on the Wii, and So I'm finding myself every year losing the actual hard drive with the games on it, or USB stick with games on it. So right now I've actually not had to hack the Wii anymore, but it's been a while since I've screwed up so bad that I had to start again. But in a way, I've had to re-download and figure out how to download the games again and convert them and actually put them on the Wii. So I'll try and explain it so then I have record of it if I want to go back and reference this later on just for myself. That's if I can remember how to do it. So with the hard drive method, I thought I could partition, and I fixed my own issue by making my own mistake. I thought I could partition a single hard drive into, like, I don't know, 5 different partitions. The reason I say this is because I have to partition one single hard drive, so split it into 2 essentially, and have one. Actually, so let me explain this in the correct manner. I take a single hard drive. This is hard drive, not USB. I have to create a partition that's under 32 gigabytes. I have to create it as, I think, FAT32. Then I have to delete the rest of the portion of the hard drive. So for me, it's like I think a 500 gigabyte hard drive, or a terabyte, or whatever it might be, which I've split or partitioned one single unit into 32 gigabytes or less. FAT32, then delete the rest of the hard drive and make it unallocated space or whatever it is on Windows, just so the Wii can recognize it. Then I create my folders. Now, I think it's WBSF folder for Wii games. And I've converted, what's the RVZ or RKZ or whatever the format is, which the Wii doesn't automatically read. I've converted that with Wii Backup Manager and Dolphin. So I go into Dolphin, convert it in Dolphin, then I think I have to do something else in Wii Backup Manager, and then I can't remember if I have to. No, I have to. What is it? Label the name the actual games correctly to the game code or whatever it's called. And with GameCube games, I have to just call it game.iso, and with I think NES games and Game Boy Advance games, I think I just drag the zip file into their correct folders. So the hard drive structure, I think, is like apps. I don't know if I put the GameCube stuff in apps or anything, and BFS or whatever it is. Anyway, there's this particular file structure. And yeah, and then the Wii will recognize it, except the NES games and Game Boy Advance games. The file sizes are small enough that I just put it on a SD card, and yeah, I've had no problems with losing anything from that. Because the SD card is always plugged in, and I can actually add as many games as I would like on that SD card, to a point obviously, but yeah, I would never have to touch it too much. with that, I've got a fair amount of NES games. I think it's NES. Fuck me, I'm butchering the shit out of that. But nonetheless, yeah, that's sort of like a reference for me later on if I need to go back and figure out how to do it while it's fresh on my mind. Yeah, that's a bit of fun. So now it's set up, I'm playing it a little bit less, but whatever. I just want to talk about rural disadvantage. It's such a weird topic and weird discussion. If you don't live in a somewhat rural area, this will be confusing. And I live in a rural area, except it's a township. So realistically, you could call it a suburb, but it only has like 20 people in it. It's like a roadside highway township. You have houses spread out a little bit, and they're sort of on a main street, but they're not. And each house has like half an acre or an acre on it. And the rural disadvantage thing is an odd one, because we have a bus service, for example, and that bus service will allow you to get to Melbourne as long as you're willing to get up extremely early in the morning, and well, not extremely early, but you know, like 5 o'clock, and then get the 5:18 and get on that bus and then go to Melbourne or go to the other towns nearby. Now to get back, we have to get on a bus which is at night time, and that's like 10 o'clock at night, which doesn't get back until about maybe just before midnight. And we've called what's it called, V-Line a few times, because it's a V-Line service, and they've made claims several times that the bus doesn't go on that route to get back during the day, and that they're never going to stop here or anything like that. But the buses that do go back during the day to the towns nearest to us, which usually is the final stop that passes our highway, passes our township, they don't stop here at all. I'm losing my train of thought here, but they actually go past, like I said, go past the highway, past our township, so they do go on that route. And I'm willing to bet, based on seeing buses sit around waiting for their next service to leave, I'm willing to bet that they do sit around at the final stop and they have enough time to drop a family off. And there would be other people who would use that service in this town. Now, I don't like complaining because we live that way, but the primary issue for me is if I don't have what I need as an established off-the-grid person who can feed their family, if I don't have all that I need, then I'm still required to go and pay for it at a supermarket. I'm still required to get out there and purchase all of this nonsense.
I don't know what that is.
And if my big town is, 40 minutes away, that's a lot of petrol. If I have the option to actually take the bus, I'm going to choose that option, as it would be significantly cheaper for a single adult to actually go out there.
2005.
And there are many catches out here, many if you look into certain things, you will run into problems and you will try and solve the problem, and every time you go to solve the problem, there's always another problem, and there's never any resolution. And that is with the bus service at the moment. And there's another thing too. We looked into it. Coles has a service where it's called a rural service, and they don't stop in our location, but once again they stop down to the town nearest to us, and that town has over 2,000 people in it, from my understanding. So they're not really, I wouldn't class them as rural. I would class us as rural. So Coles has a rural service and they help rural communities, except we are rural communities and they are not a rural community. They have a supermarket. They have access to that. We do not. And again, the Coles service passes our highway, our township. And there's also another thing too, that this town closest to us, which is like 8 to 10 minutes if I'm lucky to get there in that time, they have services where they deliver locally, but they don't deliver to our township. And I think people would likely, use the service. And again, it's one of those things where I shouldn't complain if I've chose to live that way, but there are these little things that almost suggest as if you must have a certain level of progress in your town for you to have access to these things. And it almost seems like governments try to use these little things to increase your towns, increase the populace in the townships, but I don't know if that's always the case. I mean, recently we've had someone try to develop like 10 properties down our way, but the town said no, pretty much. And the bloke and the people he has work for him, they're all very nasty people. We had one of them survey their blocks of land, but they came up to our fence and started banging nails in and started surveying and calculating from one corner of someone else's property to another. In the city, that seems quite normal. And you would say, okay, cool, no worries. In a rural setting, and these people come from the city, they come from Melbourne. In a rural setting, that is almost as if, what the fuck are you doing on my property? Piss off. Get the fuck out of here. That's the feeling that I get and several others get around here. You're almost invading our space, and you're doing it in such a manner where you have a lack of respect for the community that you are trying to build in. And these people are only out to try and make tons of money. And us as a community think that that's not going to fucking happen, because no one's going to move out here. All the properties, for the starters, are next to a highway. A major highway, so there's a lot of noise, next to a train line, and I don't know if their purpose was to rent them out, I don't know, but at this point they have been rejected and they have become more and more nasty over time. And as currently speaking, they are demolishing a few things and destroying trees that they're not meant to destroy. But that is the case with a lot of developers, anyone really, they destroy a couple of trees here and there. There's no punishment really for that, but yeah. So yeah, rural disadvantage. I mean, the next town over, not the next town, but a town like a little bit, 20, 30 minutes from where I am, they probably have a little bit less, or I don't know, people in that town, and they have a bus service that runs during the day. So I really don't understand. I mean, they do have a couple of industrial businesses, or businesses in general, but that's about it. And the other thing is, we tried to get an Australia Post mailbox, and that was also declined because, not many people. But the thing is, they always promote it as them saying they can help rural communities, but it's never a rural community. It's always a community that already has an establishment and is already like developed and could get bigger and bigger and bigger, like a couple of thousand. That's not rural. That's a big settlement. Yeah. Anyway, that's just thoughts from a madman over here. Probably out of time now, but talk about different tasting water. Now, each water supply has its own little, taste, and we have access to a few different types of tasting water. We have access to bore, which is, I don't know if I can say that it tastes salty, but it has some sort of a weird, I don't know if you can associate it to minerals or anything like that, but it's like a weird, maybe a little bit of a salty taste, like a rivery, waterfall sort of tasting water, and it's hard to consume, but I have consumed it over time. It feels like it dehydrates me more than hydrates me. And we also have access to two different types of tank. A plastic one, which is alright when it's filtered, and the metal ones, which are just like, you can taste that metal can taste when you filter it still. And then you have, I don't know if they ramp up the chlorine and fluoride and all the stuff they put in town water, and we don't have it here yet. I don't know if they ramp it up, but I feel like in the suburbs or in the city, you can taste a heavy, strong taste when it comes to the chlorine and the chlorine in general. Like, that's the only taste I can taste when I taste suburb water. But I have tried the country town, not filtered, chemicalized water, I'll call it for my own sake. And you can sort of taste the chlorine, but not too much. The city water seems to have sort of like a metallic-y chlorination, strong taste. I remember one other time we went to the goldfields in Ballarat. Well, I don't know if it's called the goldfields, but one of these campgrounds, people were panning for gold, and I remember trying that water, and it tasted so clean that I was just like, what the fuck is this? And then I just kept thinking, am I drinking all the gold? Am I insane for drinking this water while others are trying to, collect the gold for their own amusement? But at that moment I'm just thinking, this has to be a mineral. This has to be what we're supposed to drink, right? But anyway, I don't know what other water. Oh, obviously, ocean water. I've tried that. I think that's about it. Oh, bottled water. I've tried different types of plastic bottled water, and I've had this Pure AU special water that I used to drink a lot. That tasted pretty decent. They basically purify the shit out of it with reverse osmosis. But if you really think about it, it's probably taken out any minerals, and I don't know what water they are using, whether it's, creek, river, or tap water. And yeah, I've tried waterfall water, but like the stagnant water down the bottom. I've tried that. That's about it, I think. But anyways, thank you for listening. I am out.